Hello and welcome to a new Ancient Warfare series. We're going to we found a way, we think, to make your life a little bit more interesting, or perhaps we can just bore you to sleep with our new series.
Give you a taste of Ancient Warfare in only a minute or two.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to do a series of very short podcasts, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. It's called Ancient Warfare Answers, and the idea is that we answer a question that hopefully we can manage to answer in 5 to 10 minutes. And you can send us questions. We can send them to me. I'm the editor, by the way, Jasper, and with me is Murray Dahm, my assistant editor. And you can reach us via editor@ancient-warfare.com, or you can post a comment here or on the website whenever it appears there. Let us know your questions, and we'll try to answer them. And if it works, we'll try to do one every week. And if it doesn't work, we'll blame COVID. So, Murray, you've got a question. Yeah. I've got a question for you.
Right.
How did ancient generals learn their craft? Did they just spring up out of the head of Zeus and were inspired by Athena, no. Or was there more going on there?
Well, of course, they would say yes, that's exactly how it happened, that they came out of nowhere and they were just geniuses from birth. Or of course, that a god slept with their mother. That gets done too. But the fact of the matter is that the both ancient Greece and ancient Rome had ways of teaching their generals how to ply their craft. The first thing, of course, was experience in the field. You know, especially the Roman system had a sort of an apprenticeship where you would learn what to do and, observe what experienced centurions would be up to. And in the Greek system, you had that as well, that they were sort of being trained by men who knew what they were about. And at the same time, there's word of mouth. In the ancient Greek world, we have hoplomachia, who are sort of tutors in how to fight. Most of them, unfortunately, in the surviving evidence, are charlatans, and they get shown that they're actually not very good at what they're claiming that they can teach. But both Xenophon and Plato include them in their ideal state as trainers of young men. So that sort of is what happens first. Then, of course, you have that young men went through drill when they were very young, especially when they turned 18 in the Greek world. They would undergo the Ephebe training or the Spartan agogate training as well. And once they'd done their training, then they were ready to serve as hoplites, or in the Roman world, they would obviously go through training when they had enlisted. So then you've got this really interesting aspect of generals starting to write down their experiences into handbooks so that they can say, this is how you be a general. And we've got about 15 of those handbooks that survive, basically beginning with mid-4th century BC. And then after Alexander, they really start to take off. And they cover all sorts of peculiar aspects of warfare, all the way from this is how you marshal troops, to this is how you psychologically prepare to be the best general. This is how you maintain sort of discipline in the field, and all sorts of things like that. There's a whole range of genres that cover that sort of material. And then you have generals who have come up through the ranks. So they've learned their craft through doing rather than reading. And they start to abuse the generals who've only learned their generalship through books. So you've got someone like Cicero, who's not known to be a general, but he did command troops in the field when he's governor of Cilicia, and he gets sent all these books, and he thanks the people who send him the books. And then, of course, he's the sort of person that would be abused by a Marius, for instance, as being a general who's only sort of learned their craft through reading. You then get the sort of handed down knowledge. We think that there are sort of breviaria that are handed down from Augustus on about, where your troops are, what to do with them, and things like that. The problem is, of course, most of these surviving pieces of literature aren't written by generals. We've got one by Xenophon. We've got another one by Aeneas Tacticus, who was probably a general in the 4th century BC. But most of the ones that we've got are by philosophers or armchair generals who are writing these tactica on Greek phalanx tactics hundreds of years after the phalanx fell out of use. And yet they still get asked for, Trajan's reading them. And when Trajan's reading them for his Parthian campaign in the 110s AD, that's 300 and something years since the last phalanx was seen. So it's very hard to see what insights they got. In fact, one of the most remarkable is that the great, I'll probably mispronounce his name, but the Dutch reformers of warfare in the 16th century were reading them as well, and they were taking inspiration from these tactica into how to reform musket volley fire, and that's how we get the volley fire and then eventually lines of musketeers, which is remarkable. And he got that from reading one of these philosophical treatises. So there's all those ranges. You've got the born to it, who were probably lying about how much training they underwent. You've got the training in the field and being a general through experience. Someone like Pompey the Great, who doesn't go through the normal political career, but is reading these books and is in the field being a general. You've got generals who are book bound only. Whether they're any good or not, we're not sure. There are some like Philopoemen and Pompey who we're told read every night. They read books on strategy, and they are also very successful in the field. You've got others like a Julius Caesar, who, where did it come from experience, and then he just sort of pops up and he's amazing. You've also got generals like Alcibiades, who just seem to be born to it. And also there's the idea that some PR going on, because when Julius Caesar tells us how great a general he is, it's his book that survives. And Alcibiades, people ignore Thrasybulus and all of Alcibiades' colleagues because Alcibiades is the more attractive option, if you like. So there's a whole range of ways that generals learn their craft. The unfortunate thing, of course, is that the only way you can prove is to be a successful general. If you've read every book there is to do, done all the training, and lose every battle, or lose one battle, who's going to remember? Whereas you've got to be successful and win. That's how you make sure that your training is the best.
Thank you.
There you go. 7 minutes. Oh, couldn't get it in 5. No chance.
Yeah, it's nice in the middle between 5 and 10 minutes. All right. Well, we'll be back in a week or so.